Hello children, I'm Anjanelu, your Faculty of English from TBIS, Talla Padmavathi International School, Warangal. Well, today I would like to start this session with a question. Yes. And what is my question? What is a fable? I repeat, what is a fable? Yes, a fable is a story often with animals as characters. In fables, usually we find animals as characters in the story, and of course, the story has a moral to learn from. And today we are going to learn a poem. We are going to appreciate a poem named The Ant and the Cricket, which is more of like a fable, but in the form of a poem. Now let's have a look at the poem. A silly young cricket, accustomed to sing through the warm, sunny months of gay summer and spring, began to complain when he found that at home his cupboard was empty and winter was come. Not a crumb to be found on the snow-covered ground, not a flower could he see, not a leaf on a tree. Oh, what will become, says the cricket, of me? At last, by starvation and famine made bold, all dripping with wet and all trembling with cold, away he set off to a miserly ant to see if, to keep him alive, he would grant him shelter from rain and a mouthful of grain. He wished only to borrow, he would repay it tomorrow. If not, he must die of starvation and sorrow. Says the ant to the cricket, I'm your servant and friend. But we ants never borrow, we ants never lend. But tell me, dear cricket, did you lay nothing by when the weather was warm? Quoth the cricket, not I. My heart was so light that I sang day and night, for all nature looked gay. You sang, sir, you say? Go then, says the ant, and dance the winter away. Thus ending, he hastily lifted the wicket and out of the door turned the poor little cricket. Folks call this a fable. I'll warrant it true. Some crickets have four legs and some have two. So now let's get into the poem. Once there was a silly young cricket. Here the cricket is described as silly. Silly means foolish or lacking seriousness. Why is the cricket described as silly? We'll come to know in our discussion further. So that silly young cricket, accustomed to sing, it got habituated to singing through the warm, sunny months of gay summer and spring. So during the months of summer, during the months of summer and spring, As these two seasons were very pleasant, warm, sunny, they are described as gay. Gay means happiness. So happy, pleasant weather they offer. So enjoying the pleasant weather of summer and spring, the silly young cricket just it went on singing, singing and singing and did nothing else. If it had done anything, that was only singing. And in course of time, the winter arrived. And in that winter, the cricket found his cupboard was empty at home. There was nothing to eat in its cupboard. It was all empty. And now the winter came. How? Why do you think here his cupboard was empty? Because it had not collected and stored any food in warm weather during summer or spring. It simply sang and sang and sang. So now, in the winter, when winter has come, the cricket found nothing to eat in its home. Not a crumb to be found on the snow-covered ground. Crumb, a small piece of food or grain on the snow-covered ground. There was not even a single piece of grain on the ground. It was all covered with the snow. Not a flower could he see, not a leaf on a tree. The silly cricket, when it went out in search of food during that winter, it couldn't find any crumb or piece of food, nor did he find any flower or a leaf on a tree. It appeared like famine. Oh, what will become of me? Says the cricket. Now the cricket seemed to have come into the consciousness. All these days, it's just simply enjoyed nature, singing songs every day. It never thought of collecting food and storing it for future. And now it started worrying about its life because without food, no one can survive. At last, by starvation and famine made bold, so it's all some kind of famine. The season was famine. There came famine. Means what is famine? Scarcity of food. During the period when there is a scarcity for food, usually we call the period as famine. And famine is the consequence or ramification of drought. You know, when there is uh, when there are no rains for a longer period, we call it as drought, and drought leads to famine. So, in the winter, the cricket had nothing to eat, and so it had to spend the days without food. And it is quite difficult to pass the days without having anything to eat. And hunger makes a person, or hunger makes a living being so bold to do anything to get the food. So here, the cricket was also made bold by the starvation and famine. What made the cricket so bold here? Starvation and famine. So the cricket became bold. Means bold means what? To become fearless. For what? All dripping with wet and all trembling with cold. All dripping with wet and trembling, shivering with cold. Away he set off to a miserly ant. Now we will understand why uh, the cricket was described as to have become bold. So, unable to bear the starvation, the cricket decided to go to an ant. There was an ant who the cricket knew. He took a bold decision to go to that ant and ask. Why should he be bold to go to that ant and ask him for some help? Because the cricket already knew that that ant was miserly. Miserly means very stingy, not ready to come forward to help someone. People who are miserly, usually, they don't share anything from their side to anyone. They're quite ungenerous, very stingy. They don't want to leave or sacrifice even a small bit of a pittance of all that they have for the sake of the others. So the cricket knew that ant was very miserly by nature. He was a miser. But still, the cricket decided to go to that ant. Who do you think prompted that cricket to go to that ant, knowing that it would not help? Yes, it's hunger. It was unable to bear with that starvation and famine. If it, if he delayed any longer, he would die of hunger. So the cricket decided to go to the ant to see, because the cricket was not very sure that he would grant him shelter from rain and a mouthful of grain. The cricket was doubtful whether that ant would give him shelter, protect itself from the rain, or to get some food to uh, satiate hunger. He wished only to borrow. The cricket went to the ant and borrowed some food. When we borrow, we will repay. So the cricket, he would repay tomorrow, thinking, I would repay, I would give away, I would give back all that food, whatever I get from that ant, I will repay it tomorrow, the next day. Thinking so, this uh, cricket went to that ant. If not, he must die of starvation and sorrow. If he didn't go, if he didn't go to that ant, what would happen? It would die of starvation and sorrow. It would die of eating no food, and it would die in grief. Says the ant to the cricket. So the cricket went and asked the ant for some help, for some shelter, and for some food. Then ant says to the cricket, I'm your servant and friend, but we ants never borrow. We ants never learn. But tell me, dear cricket, did you lay nothing by when the weather was warm? The ant said, "Oh, cricket, I'm your servant and I'm your friend. I'm ready to serve you because I'm your friend. But you know, we are ants, and our principle is we never borrow from others, nor we lend to others. That is what we follow. This is what our principle. So, how can I borrow? How can I lend you? I know you have come to borrow me, but how can I lend? Because we are ants. I'm an ant, and we ants never borrow nor we lend. But tell me one thing, cricket. Did you lay nothing by? But I want to know. Didn't you say anything when the weather was warm and quite comfortable? Asked the ant. Ant got a doubt whether the cricket had not stored anything, had not saved anything to eat. Quoth the cricket. Then, in old-fashioned English, quoth means quoted means said. So the cricket replied, "Not I. Oh no, I have not saved anything because my heart was so light during that pleasant seasons of summer and spring, since those days were very warm and comfortable. My heart was so light. I became so light at heart that I sang day and night, all through the summer and spring. Day and night I went on singing, but I never thought of saving any food. For all nature looked gay. For means because all nature looked gay when during the summer and the spring, total nature appeared so pleasant. So the cricket could save any food because it was busy singing all the time. You sang, sir. Say. Then ant mocked at the cricket. Oh, you sang, sir. Oh, during the summer and spring when the weather was warm and convenient, instead of collecting some food and saving it in your cupboard at home, you say that you spent the summer and spring sick. Go then and dance the winter away. Oh, at the time you sang. Now throughout this winter, you go and dance, thus ending. Thus, the ant concluded the conversation, hastily lifted the wicket. Means when a big gate is there, in that a small opening, window like opening will also be there. So here, now the ant asking the cricket to go and dance throughout the winter, it lifted the wicket, means it lifted the small door of the big door. And out of the door turned the poor little cricket. When the ant lifted the door means without words, the ant showed the way to go out of its home. The poor, hungry little cricket turned back, came out of the ant's house, so much disappointed, dejected. Folks call this a fable. These are the poet's words. Folks call this a fable. Folks call this a fable. Means people call it a fable, and I'll warrant it true. And I approve that it is true. Who is I here? The poet. The poet says, people call it a fable. People call it a moral story with some creatures as characters. And I'll warrant it true. And I say that it is true. What? Some crickets have four legs and some have two. Some crickets have four legs. Some have two. As you see in the picture, this cricket is having only two legs. And it went on singing and dancing instead of doing something for its food. So what does the poet mean here? Some crickets have four legs means some crickets, they are really very industrious, hardworking. They know the value of the work and they behave wisely and they do some hard work to find some food to save it for future. While some have two legs, means some others simply they idle away their time, doing nothing valuable. They simply waste the time. And even among us also, we have some four-legged crickets, we have some two-legged crickets. Children, what do you think of yourself? Are you four-legged cricket or a two-legged cricket? If you are a two-legged cricket, you simply idle away the time doing nothing useful for your life. So, this poem underlines the significance of hard work or industry. One must be working hard all the time for a better future, like an ant in the story. We should not be like a foolish cricket. Yes. Now I think you have understood why the poet described it as silly. Why? When the weather was convenient, comfortable, warm, the cricket did not do anything to collect some food and save in its home. Instead of that, it went on singing and enjoying the nature. Now, in the winter, it's crying for food, it's dying out of food. This is what the poem, The Ant and the Cricket. Hope you enjoyed this poem. Hope you understood the moral. What is the moral here? One must work hard in present time for a safe and secure future. Thank you.